I love you. I'll marry you and protect you from all dangers, even if I have to become a different person. Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Is work going smoothly? I hope that no matter how busy life gets, you still find moments of peace for yourselves. Today I want to tell you a story, a confession from the bottom of my heart. This isn't a story about betrayal or fiery arguments. This is a story about a promise. I swore a promise that changed my life forever. A seemingly sweet promise, yet it imprisoned me in endless torment, pushing me into a labyrinth of choices and secrets. I believed I was doing the right thing, but the truth hidden behind that vow was a tragedy I didn't foresee. I invite you to listen to my story, the story of Jack and Chloe, so you can reflect on your own relationships, so you can bravely face the truth before everything becomes irreparable fragments. Because sometimes what we fear losing most is exactly what we push away with our own hands. I still vividly remember that morning, the faint aroma of freshly roasted coffee lingering throughout our small kitchen. The weak early winter sunlight filtered through the window pane, painting pale golden streaks on the wooden floor. I was standing by the stove, the cheerful sizzling sound of oil in the pan as I flipped perfectly golden eggs. I was mentally planning our upcoming weekend road trip with a few close friends. A feeling of freedom, of spontaneity permeated every thought, making life feel wonderful. Chloe and I had a dream life: impromptu trips to ancient towns, spontaneous picnics in national parks, late-night movie marathons, curled up on the sofa, mornings spent luxuriating in bed until noon without worrying about any responsibilities. I loved that freedom, loved the feeling that we were our own world, a closed universe unbound by anything. I often told Chloe that with her everything was complete, nothing else was needed. Chloe? My wife leaned against the kitchen doorway, her hazelnut hair still messy from sleep, her eyes sparkling with something very strange when she looked at me. A gentle smile played on her lips, but it wasn't her usual smile. It was a smile hiding something deeper, a yearning I had never seen before. Jack, she began, her voice soft as honey, surprisingly melodious yet carrying an unexpected weight. I want to have a baby. I laughed, a carefree, confident laugh of a man who thought he knew his woman perfectly. I didn't turn to look at her, my hands still deftly flipping eggs. My love, what are you dreaming about now? I teased, still thinking she was just rambling, like the times she mentioned buying a house with a big yard or getting a large dog. Someday, right? It'll be years from now. We have so much to enjoy now, don't we? All the trips, the concerts, the freedom-filled nights. I had always assumed that we, a young, vibrant couple, would continue this free, unburdened life for at least 5 more years, maybe 10 years. I feared big changes, new responsibilities I had never experienced. In my mind, having children meant losing freedom, losing personal space, losing long nights of conversation or lazy mornings. I loved that freedom, loved the feeling that we were our own world, a peaceful fortress just for the two of us, and I didn't want anything to disrupt it. I told myself I wasn't ready and wouldn't be ready as long as I saw our current life as perfect. But then an unusual silence enveloped the kitchen. The silence was so heavy I could feel it. I turned around and the smile on my lips vanished like a candle flame in the wind. Chloe wasn't smiling. Her eyes held an unusual seriousness, a quiet determination I rarely saw. She looked straight at me without a hint of wavering, and I realized this wasn't just a casual remark. This was a statement that could change everything. I'm serious, Jack. She repeated each word clear and resolute, as if she were reciting a sacred vow. I'm ready. I want to start now. I've thought a lot about this, prepared myself mentally and physically. I feel like this is the right time. My heart felt squeezed. A sense of shock mixed with a little panic consumed me. I felt so small before the immense longing in her eyes. I felt helpless, as if a deep secret within me had just been touched. A fear I had tried to bury for so long now surged powerfully, swallowing every other thought. I didn't know how to face it, how to react. My mind was blank, filled only with a vague dread of an unfamiliar future. I don't think I'm ready to be a father right now, I stammered, my voice completely lost, pathetically weak. I looked at her, pleading for understanding, for leniency. I wanted her to understand that this wasn't a rejection of my love for her, but a panic before too great a responsibility. I wanted her to give me more time, more space to get used to the idea. Chloe just nodded, a slow nod full of understanding, but also full of pain. She didn't say another word. But that nod, that look, it was as if she had known my answer beforehand, as if she had anticipated this reaction long ago. The faint smile on her lips was no longer radiant, but held a deep sadness and acceptance of a harsh fate. It was like an end to one phase and the opening of a new chapter for which I was completely unprepared. That was the first secret revealed. From that moment, I realized there was a major crack between us regarding our future direction, an invisible barrier I had deliberately ignored for too long. Her burning desire and my inherent fear stood in stark opposition, creating a deep chasm between two seemingly harmonious hearts. And I had foreseen that scenario, but was too cowardly to face it, too much in love with my selfish freedom. I thought love could resolve all differences, but I was wrong. Chloe's yearning for motherhood wasn't a fleeting preference, but a deep-seated instinct, a call from within that no love could extinguish. After that morning, the atmosphere in our apartment became heavy as lead. The lingering smell of fried eggs now haunted me. It reminded me of my carefree attitude and Chloe's heartbreaking seriousness. We unconsciously avoided each other, dodging glances, conversations that might touch upon that sensitive topic. A stifling silence permeated every corner, making every breath I took difficult. I felt like I was walking on thin ice. One wrong move could shatter everything. We still lived under the same roof, but our souls were already in two different worlds. Finally, one evening, we couldn't avoid it any longer. I suggested we sit down and talk. Our familiar living room suddenly felt strange, tense, like a silent battlefield. I sat opposite her on the old sofa, feeling like I was facing a courtroom where I was the defendant and the prosecutor was my own fear. I knew this was the most important conversation of my life, and I had to be honest, no matter how painful the truth. I started by talking about my love for her, about what we had built together. I tried to paint a beautiful picture of our current life, hoping she would see the value in it, hoping she would understand my fear. I love you, Chloe. You know that. I love our current life. You know this freedom, the spontaneous weekend trips to the coast, the Sunday bike rides through the forest, the late-night horror movie marathons, the mornings spent lounging in bed until the sun was high without anyone bothering us. Everything is so perfect, like a dream I've always longed for. We can explore the world together, enjoy pleasures without being tied down. I thought that was happiness, Chloe. That's my definition of happiness. I tried to keep my voice calm, but inside me was a storm. I spoke about my fear, a fear I had kept hidden for so long, not even daring to admit it to myself. I'm afraid of change, Chloe. I'm afraid of experiences I'm not ready for. I don't know if I can be a good father. I'm afraid of losing my freedom, losing my moments of peace. I'm afraid our lives will completely change and I won't be able to cope. I'm afraid of facing a huge responsibility and irreversible change. I'm afraid I won't be able to love a child enough. Afraid I won't be able to be the father people expect. Afraid I'll mess up a tiny person's life. That fear is so great it swallowed up even the love and desire to be a father that I might not have even realized yet. I can't accept that idea right now. I need more time. A lot of time. I spoke the truth, a part of the truth. The rest was the real fear of facing a great responsibility, an irreversible change, and I knew this truth might make her leave. Chloe listened to me silently. She didn't interrupt, didn't argue, only her eyes slowly reddening and then silent tears rolling down her cheeks. She cried, but not out of sadness, not out of anger. Her pain seemed much deeper, a pain of understanding but also of despair. These were tears of helplessness when her deepest desire was not understood. "I'm not crying because you don't want to have a baby right now, Jack," she said, her voice trembling but firm. Her every word etched itself into my mind, echoing endlessly in my soul. "I'm crying because I don't want to reach 40 and find out I'm with a man who never wanted children. I don't want to get to that point when it's too late, when my chance has passed, only to realize that my greatest dream in life cannot be fulfilled. I don't want to live a life full of regret because I waited for something that would never come. I want to be a mother, Jack. I want to hold my child in my arms. I want to watch them grow day by day. I want to teach them right from wrong. That is my deepest desire. A desire I thought you would understand. I've waited for you for so long, Jack. I always thought there would be a day you'd be ready. But you keep being afraid, keep procrastinating. I can't wait forever." That statement, like a sharp knife, plunged straight into my heart. It wasn't just an accusation but a harsh prophecy. It exposed a brutal truth I had tried to deny. I wasn't just afraid of having children now, but I was afraid of having children forever. I was afraid of facing a completely different future, a future full of responsibility and sacrifice. Chloe's tears that day weren't weakness, but the overwhelming breakdown of a woman realizing that her greatest dream in life was on the verge of shattering, not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of synchronicity. That was the second secret revealed. Chloe wasn't just looking for a father for her child. She was looking for a life partner who shared the same vision for family and future, a man capable of growing with her, building a complete home together. And I, in my inherent fear, was not that person. I didn't protect her from the pain of an unclear future. I caused it with my cowardice, with my own selfishness. The difference between us wasn't a small issue that love could resolve, but a major barrier in our life views and life directions. From that night, an invisible cold wall began to rise between us. A wall of silence, of fears unsaid. We became cautious with each other, careful with every word, every gesture, as if afraid that any wrong move could shatter the delicate balance that existed. The air in the house became suffocating. Every breath carried anxiety. I felt like I was walking on thin ice. One wrong move could shatter everything. We still lived under the same roof, but our souls were already in two different worlds. I absolutely avoided the topic of children. I sidestepped whenever Chloe wanted to talk about the future, about long-term plans. I just wanted to keep things as they were, stable and unchanged. I still tried to maintain our old routines, watching movies with her, going out to dinner, taking walks, but deep down, I knew everything had changed. My smiles were more forced, my hugs lacked warmth, and the stories I told became superficial just to fill the terrifying silence. I told myself I needed to focus on my career, to build a solid foundation for the future, but in reality, it was just an excuse to postpone facing my own fears. Chloe was the same. She no longer mentioned having children, no longer talked about adorable baby pictures on social media, no longer expressed admiration for the young mothers she met. She also avoided talking about her own dreams, about what she truly wanted in life. I saw her spending more time on herself, on her work, on meeting friends without me. She signed up for new classes, attended self-improvement workshops, and I could feel that she was slowly building a world of her own, one where I wasn't present. She had started looking for other paths to fill the void in her soul. Evenings in the apartment grew quieter. The only sounds left were often the murmuring TV or the tapping of my keyboard. Our conversations were reduced to polite inquiries. Are you okay today? Do you want anything to eat? Are you home late? There were no more heart-to-heart talks, no more dreams shared, no more plans for a shared future. Our conversations revolved only around practical matters, bills to pay, chores to do. We had lost the invisible connection, lost the ability to share our deepest dreams and aspirations. We stopped talking about the future, stopped dreaming together, and that was the beginning of the end. Our shared trips became rarer. The trips we used to excitedly plan now became burdens, occasions for us to realize the growing distance. On those trips, we still tried to create happy moments, taking photos, laughing, but I knew and she knew they were just hollow facades. Chloe's smile no longer came from the heart, but was just an effort. Sometimes I saw her look at me with eyes full of regret, as if looking at a version of me she once loved, but who was no longer there. I thought I could change. That one day I would be ready. I promised myself, reassuring myself that time would heal everything, that I would overcome this fear. I read books, watched movies about fatherhood, tried to find inspiration, tried to convince myself that having children wouldn't be as terrible as I thought. I even tried to imagine holding a child, playing with them, but every time I tried, the fear surged stronger, swallowing every positive thought. I didn't dare to make promises to Chloe. I didn't dare to give her any fragile hope because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to fulfill it. I was afraid of facing disappointment in her eyes again, afraid of seeing those painful tears. And it was that silence, that procrastination, that became an invisible knife cutting the bond between us thread by thread. Chloe, meanwhile, thought she would wait. She waited for me in silence, waited for me to realize that great desire, waited for me to overcome my own fear. She spent long nights thinking, weighing love against her dream. I could see the struggle in her eyes whenever she looked at me. I saw her looking at children on the street, her eyes full of tenderness but also sadness. She read books about motherhood, joined women's groups, and I knew that desire within her grew stronger, more intense every day. But time isn't something a woman should gamble with, especially when her biological clock is ticking. I realized the third secret revealed. My procrastination wasn't allowing her to wait, but was an unintentional indifference that was killing the greatest dreams in the life of the woman I loved, while also killing our relationship itself. We had fallen into a trap of silence and assumptions where each of us hoped the other would change, but no one dared to speak their true feelings until it was too late to save anything. The gradual distance turned us into strangers living under the same roof. That fateful day arrived with surprising gentleness. There were no earth-shattering arguments, no overflowing tears or desperate pleas, only a terrifying stillness like a frozen lake before a long winter, signaling an inevitable end. I had felt it coming for a long time, but still tried to ignore it, still tried to cling to a false hope. I had lived in denial, and now the truth had come to deliver a painful blow. I woke up early one morning, pale autumn light filtering through the window, painting weak streaks on the carpet. The air was colder than usual. Chloe was packing. The sound of her suitcase zipper tore through the silence, one zip after another, steady and cold like a bell signaling an irreversible farewell. I shot up in bed, looking at her. My heart felt like it stopped. I knew my greatest fear had come, a fear even greater than the fear of becoming a father. It was the fear of losing her, losing the woman I had once thought would be mine forever. She didn't look at me. Her hands deftly folded clothes books into the suitcase, one item after another, neatly and decisively. I saw our photos, shared photos from our trips, happy moments put into a separate box as if she was packing all our memories into a mental drawer, never to be touched again. With each item put away, my heart ached. She wasn't crying, didn't seem distressed, only calm to a chilling degree. That hurt me even more because I knew she had accepted this truth long ago. When everything was done, the suitcase neatly placed by the door, a small handbag on her shoulder, Chloe turned. Her hair fell across her shoulders, partly obscuring her face. Her eyes looked at me no longer with disappointment or sadness, but with a terrifying calm acceptance and unshakable determination. I knew she had made her final decision and no words of mine could change it. "I'm moving to Chicago, Jack," she said, her voice soft like a whisper in the wind, but carrying the weight of 1,000 pounds. "My sister is pregnant there. I want to be near her, want to watch a baby grow up, want to experience being an aunt. I need my own space-time to reassess everything. I need to live with what I yearn for Jack. I can't keep waiting for something uncertain." I nodded. My throat was dry, all words seemed to vanish. I wanted to say something, anything to make her stay. I wanted to say, "Don't go. I'll change. I'll try. I'll do everything for you and for a family." I wanted to swear, to beg on my knees. I wanted to cast aside all my fears, to embrace her and promise I would be the best father in the world. I wanted to say I loved her more than anything and I was willing to sacrifice everything to have her. But I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat, unable to escape. I had been cowardly for too long, procrastinated for too long. Now those promises had become meaningless, hollow. I knew even if I said those words, she wouldn't believe them. I had lost her trust with my silence and my fear. Moreover, deep down I knew I still wasn't truly ready. I was still selfish. Chloe walked closer to me, placing her cold hand on my chest, right over my wildly beating heart. The warmth from her hand seemed to penetrate my clothes, reaching deep into my soul, and I felt the dull ache beneath her palm. That was her final farewell. "I still love you, Jack," she said, each word etched into my mind. "I'll always love you, and I'll never regret what we had. But we want vastly different things. We can't keep lying to ourselves and to each other anymore. Both of us deserve to be happy, to live with what we desire most, no matter how different our paths are." I nodded. For the first time and also the last time. A helpless nod full of acceptance of a harsh truth I had tried to deny for so long. It was an ending without drama, without noise, but painfully bone deep. She turned, pulled her suitcase, and walked out the door I had once thought was the safest sanctuary for our love. She didn't look back. Perhaps she was afraid she wouldn't be strong enough, or perhaps she knew there was nothing left to turn back to. She walked away with the lightness of someone who had shed a burden, heading towards her own bright horizon. I stood there like a statue, watching Chloe's figure disappear. The pain wasn't a strong punch, but a slow erosion, little by little, until everything was just an endless void. She was gone, taking a part of my soul, taking the dreams of a family that I had been too cowardly to accept. That was the fourth secret revealed. This separation wasn't because love had ended, but because of an irreconcilable difference in life goals, and I, the man who promised to protect her from all dangers, was the one who pushed her away with my fear and procrastination. I didn't protect her from the pain of an unclear future. I caused it with my cowardice, with my own selfishness. I had deceived myself and deceived her. I didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because I knew tears wouldn't change anything. I only felt an endless emptiness, a loss I couldn't name. I had lost Chloe, but deeper still, I had lost myself in that relationship, in trying to hold on to something that didn't belong to me. I sacrificed too much, but I sacrificed blindly, incorrectly, and in the end, neither Chloe nor I were happy. This parting, though heartbreaking, was a necessary liberation. It was like a whirlwind sweeping away all falsehoods, leaving behind a void where I could begin to rebuild from scratch. I felt like a ship lost at sea, without direction, without purpose, only the large waves of loneliness crashing against its hull. After Chloe left, the apartment became strangely empty. No more her laughter, no more her familiar scent, only a heavy silence pervading every corner. I still worked, still went for coffee, still tried to maintain my old routines, but everything felt tasteless. Every night I tossed and turned on the cold bed, the image of Chloe with her determined eyes and the phrase, "I want to have a baby," kept haunting me. I started to question myself, to dig deep into my fear. Why was I so afraid? Why was I so selfish that I couldn't see the great longing in the heart of the woman I loved? I had been a coward, a selfish person, someone who had destroyed his own happiness with his own hands. One evening, as I sat numbly in the dark living room, my phone rang. It was David, my best friend from college. He didn't say much, just simply, "Coffee now?" I nodded without thinking. I needed someone to talk to, someone to listen. We met at our usual coffee shop near home. The soft jazz music, the warm yellow lights couldn't dispel the coldness in my heart. David looked at me without judgment, only genuine concern in his eyes. He knew about Chloe and me, but had never asked directly. "You look terrible, Jack," David said, his voice deep and warm. "Tell me about it. You seem to be holding too much inside." For the next few hours, I told David everything. I told him about my fear when Chloe said she wanted a baby, about my procrastination, about the tearful conversations and the terrifying silence. I told him how I clung to my freedom like a shield, how I was too cowardly to face change. I also told him about the promise to protect her from all dangers, even if I have to become a different person, that I had made to Chloe back then. I felt so weak telling him everything, but also a little relieved. David listened patiently without interrupting. When I finished, he sighed. "You know, Jack," David said, his voice lowering, "your fear isn't about being a father. Your greatest fear is losing yourself. It's change. You clung too tightly to your current life as a shield to hide the weakness and anxiety of an immature man. You chose temporary comfort instead of facing the growth and challenges life brings. You imprisoned yourself in a cocoon and then you pushed Chloe away." David's words, not from a therapist, but from a close friend who understood me better than anyone, were like a sharp knife, yet they were healing medicine. He spoke the naked truth I had tried to escape. I had clung to my current life as a shield to hide the weakness and anxiety of an immature man. The promise to protect you from all dangers, even if I have to become a different person, now carried a painful meaning. I had tried to protect Chloe from the risks of life, but I couldn't protect her from the pain of a love that was out of sync. In fact, I had turned into a different person, a cowardly, procrastinating Jack who dared not face the truth, and that itself destroyed everything. I didn't become a better version of myself, but instead I turned myself into a weak, irresponsible person. I realized the final and most painful secret revealed. My fear not only shattered my marriage, but also made me lose myself. I had lived in a bubble of falsehood where I deluded myself into believing everything was fine while Chloe's heart was slowly breaking. Maturity isn't about avoiding responsibility, but about bravely facing it even if it stems from a mistake. This separation was a costly lesson, a price paid for my cowardice. I learned to forgive myself, to face my fears, and to accept that life doesn't always go the way you want. I started seeking out small joys again, things I had neglected in my obsession with freedom. I started truly living, not running away, but confronting. Now looking back, I realized that the freedom I once clung to was actually a prison of my own making. A prison of fear, of procrastination, and of refusing to face life's challenges. I missed the opportunity to grow with Chloe, missed the opportunity to build a complete family. It's a big scar in my life, but also an invaluable lesson. I don't know where the future will take me. Maybe I'll find a new love, a woman who can accept the real me, accept both the scars and the lessons from the past. A love built on synchronicity, understanding, and respect for each other's individual aspirations. A love where I'm no longer afraid to change for someone else, but willing to change, to grow together, to work towards shared goals. Or maybe I'll choose a single life, dedicating all my time and love to myself and the passions I'm rediscovering. Either way, I know one thing for sure: I will never repeat my mistake again. I will never let fear dictate major life decisions. I will live true to myself, to the values I believe in, because I've learned that loving yourself, respecting your true self, is the foundation for all true love and real happiness. I believe that when I live authentically, peace and happiness will find me. I still remember Chloe's eyes, her radiant smile, and the burning dreams in those eyes. That's a beautiful memory, an indispensable part of my life. I no longer resent her, but only have respect and gratitude. She was brave enough to live her dream, and though unintentionally, she taught me a valuable lesson about growing up. She swam out of the old current, and now I too am learning to swim along, not to catch up to her, but to find my own path, a path where I am no longer afraid of new things. My separation from Chloe is a vivid testament to the fact that sometimes letting go is the best way to find liberation and allow both parties an opportunity to seek true happiness. No one is entirely at fault. We were just young people who took a hasty step and didn't grow together, didn't understand each other's deepest desires. But from that mistake, we learned the most valuable lesson about maturity and courage. I was reborn not from ashes, but from the very broken pieces of my life. The road ahead may still be challenging, but I believe in myself, and I believe in the power of authenticity, the power of synchronicity that I will seek in future relationships. If you are listening to this story, and you feel your partner wants to have children, but you're not ready, or vice versa, you are yearning to be a mother/father, but your partner keeps procrastinating, If you are standing at a major turning point in your life, a decision that could change everything simply because of a fear and invisible pressure from society, from family, or from yourself, please just a moment. Take a breath. Take a moment to listen to that inner voice, the voice of your heart and your mind. Look directly at your partner, not with judgment, but with genuine understanding. Be brave enough to ask, are we truly still on the same path? Is my dream still our dream? Or are we slowly becoming two parallel lines side by side, yet each heading towards a different horizon? And most importantly, ask yourself the most crucial question, a question I wish I had asked sooner. Am I doing this out of genuine love and soulmate connection? Or out of fear, out of imposed responsibility, out of a desire to please others? Or because I'm afraid to face a difficult truth? Am I deceiving myself and deceiving the one I love? Because marrying out of fear, staying together out of an unspoken obligation, or out of haste, is like building a house on sand. That house might look beautiful and sturdy from the outside, it might even be praised by everyone, but its foundation is weak, easily crumbling before the storms of life. You can try to push through, try to play a role that isn't yours, try to cover up the hidden cracks within. But one day you'll be exhausted and everything will shatter more painfully than you can imagine. We tried to make everything right. We tried to love, tried to build, tried to rise from a mistake. We didn't fail because we weren't good enough. We simply started a journey, for the wrong reasons or with two vastly different goals. And the price paid for cowardice, for procrastination, for the lack of courage to face the truth was losing a love, losing a family, and losing a piece of myself. Thank you for listening to my story. If this story touched your heart, or if you have any thoughts or feelings you want to share, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Hit the like button, share this story with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other profound stories. Your support is what motivates me to keep sharing. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.